And let's get started, shall we? It's really up to. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Um, I'm just gonna be. I'm just gonna go straight into it because we all know who I am and what I'm doing here. We, we all know what we all know I'm who I am, and we all know what I'm doing here. So let's just get right into it. Parent, parents. That's right, Jack. I said parents. Backing in. Completely raising. No. Raising their kids for the second time. That's not fair. Like, as if the first one, like as if the first time wasn't bad, was. Hello from Ireland. How do you do? Um, okay. Um, Parents have a very interesting um, IQ of not of raising their kids, because they want to like they need to raise their kids when they're young, and then when their kids are old enough or at the age of reason, deuce, they gotta stop. Uh, they gotta become their age, the parents, I mean, and let their kids and like the kids, they're. I almost hate to say this, but they're growing up without their parents. Kids and teenagers for the are usually are usually between uh, the the parents and a brick wall. Okay, like I I went I wasn't I was definitely one of those types of teenagers, um, and still am sort of. Bring me eight. I'm pretty sure I don't know what you're talking about, but I will learn. I will learn. Um, like, what is the deal? What is the deal with I wish I could understand this. Parents thinking that they can raise their kids again. Once the kids have gotten to the age of reason. What? Their kids are already at the age of reason, and they're doing everything to take on life forms of their own. Like, okay, um, like, can somebody help me out here? When did I what year is this? Like, and before someone does tell me the year of this, I mean that metaphorically. I mean that in a metaphorical sense. Like, what year is this? The year of raising kids for the second time. You had the first time. There, there wasn't. There was the first time, and you know there there was the first time, and you're lucky to have gotten that. Because your kids are now at the age of reason, or they're teenagers, and they do want and they don't want dad and mom to do anything, really. And when you get when you get to that age of, you know, I don't want to sound like someone who's a bigot here. You know, I really don't. But you get to that age of going, Mom, Dad, enough already. I'm a teenager now. You're going to have to deal with it. Like, and that's the thing, and news, and news, and news, and that's the thing, you know, like parents are not prepared for what for looking out for warning signs. They are, I mean, they kind of are, but I mean, the first warning signs was when their kids was like 5, maybe 7, but now it's done. It's over. You know, the kid has already, you know, an adult brain in their head, and their body has to catch up with that adult brain in their head. You know, like, which is bad, which is totally fine. They already have an adult brain in their head at the age of 8. Well, that's a little young to have that, but they start, but start, but they start having an adult brain at the age of 8, and then by the time they get to 9 and 10, it's a freaking it's a freaking freak show. Like, just new, there was no coming back after that. Like, once you get to the age of 8 and 10, there was no there was there was no coming back once you're 8 or 10. There's no coming back. So so now we're at the ages of Mom, Dad, you're crowding me. Why are you crowding me? And the parents are usually like, well, I don't know. You know, it's the second, that either the first or the second thing in the parents' vocabulary when their kids are sounding like, like, like they got cheese to go with that wine. You know, like, I mean, what the like? I mean, what in the hell's you know? Like, I mean, go figure. When a parent, when are parents going to get it? Their kids, they're they're not getting their kids back, and they're barely going to get their and they barely don't even get their teenagers, their kids that are now teenagers back either. The parent, the parent time, the parent time for raising is now gone. Okay, and they feel almost threatened because or not threatened, hurt that they can't raise their kids anymore. So they thought so they feed so they're feeding, you know, the feeling of maybe we can do it again here. Yes, I no, you you had your channels, and depending on your performance of the first raising, the kids are going to take from that, you know, and base and and base and base that on how their friends are going to be like, you know, their friends, you know, like their teenage friends and all the and and you know friend, friends that are sort of more or less like that are sort of kind of like them, like 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 rebels, uh, or like either rebels, like either rebels or uh, or just trying to get away from dad and mom. Like, no, when when your kids get a little too young, when your kids get to the point of being smothered, or sorry, feeling like they're getting smothered. Wait, like I mean, what in the blue hell do you do with that? They feel like they're getting smothered. They fun, they fun, they feel like they're flunking their parents. It's like it's like high school before they get to that point of going to high school. They feel like they're flunking their parents for some almost nonsensical reason. There's there's like worry in the not worry, but like there's reveling in the air. Like the kids, the kids, and kids, teenagers today, they don't want mom's and dad's advice. They want they want their they want advice from their friends. Their their there's a word for that. Their their friends, their teenage advisors. There we go. This they're teenage advisors. The first the I mean they're like I I mean they love their parents. Don't get me wrong, man. Like I love my parents, but I know but I know what's inside my heart. And most and I know people and most young people are like that. You know, the 13 and the 14 and the 13-year olds that do have been they there's always some look-alike version of yourselves that have almost no clue what they're going to do next, and the look and the and their parents give well, like all parents really give what they think or figure is good advice, but all in the but in the end, it's like the rugrats all grown up. They they want to get away from the parents so they can do what they know they can do before they step over that hill to getting older. They were they like I mean they realize they're getting older. That's the point. They're doing the opposite of their parents, not because it was a cool thing to do at the time. They're developing their own brainwaves. They they're they're just doing what they know. They're just doing what they're what was recorded earlier in life by the way their parents raised them. You know, not not every, not not every parent comes out of the washer and dryer. Same for teenagers and kids. They they don't just come out of the dryer and they're all dry at first. They're still kind of a, a little damp, not all the way damp, but they're you know they've had time to to cool down in the dryer. You know, like I mean, come on, like what in the blue jumping jack is going on here? But all parents have at least a 45% answer to what their kids are about. Um, and the kids and the kids have kids and teenagers that don't they they have the IQ of very smart, intelligent, and 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 way more smarter than the average adult. You know, like I feel there is a like I know there's a thin line between the parent and what they're expecting of the kids and you know and what they expect from the teenagers, their kids, but it's not really right. But they don't lose. But they don't. But the parents don't really win. It's all getting back at mom and dad for not. No, it it's all about rebelling against what the parents. You know, it's it's the season of rebelling against the parents. You know, it's the parents are always in season when it comes to rebelling against, and what kids are rebelling and teenagers are rebelling is that they want to fight. They want to do what they figure is right, and instead of getting it from dad and mom, you know, and like so. Like before I go here, can can if there's any, and I know there's teenagers and kids out there that just might be watching this. What do you feel, and what do you know dad and mom are thinking before they get before they are before the parents get there? You know, like if I mean if there are kids and teenagers watching this, what do you think about my opinions here? You know, like what would you like? You know, are you in the kind of like the are you kind of somewhat in the line of dad and mom, please give me a break. Dad and mom, please stop, but you're still ahead. But are you there? Like, Are you at that level? If you're like, if you are, please shoot your comments. I don't know. In like, if you are, please give or if you want to, sorry. If you want to, you can send a call like somewhere between here and there. Um, but no, yeah, like I mean, we gotta st- we gotta stop. Like I mean, kids and teenagers are going to do what they want anyway, relentless in what their parents want them to do. You know, so here's here's an idea. Just you know, have go and do your thing, man, or woman. You know, go and do your thing, and and do and and do be afraid, and do be afraid, and don't be afraid if your parents are trying to, you know, tell you to, you know, something as simple as taking out the garbage, which you probably are doing anyway. Do you want, do you want, you know, dad and mom to always be telling you to take out the garbage, or are you just gonna think, oh, maybe it's time for I do the recycling, and then go and do it? You know, if that is something you are doing, then okay, great. But do you need, you know, do you need the Jack in the Box to jump out and be like, okay, time to do this? No, it's not. It's time for kids, teenagers to do that. But they don't want to get zero dad, but they don't. But they want to break zero dad and zero mom. Like doesn't it, like I mean that's natural. It's also natural to not burn down the house. That's natural to not burn down the house. Well, the parents are out on a trip for maybe like a couple of weeks, a week, a half a month. Your your kids for your teenagers and kids for Christmas sake. Like, what in the hell is wrong with that? You're gonna behave like kids. You're gonna behave like teenagers. Bullshit. That's your job. Like they don't need like like you don't need you know like you don't need 12, like you don't need 9,000 pounds of dad coming on under you, and you don't and you do and you sure the heck don't need the same many, and you sure the heck don't need the same amount of mom coming down on you. Just do your thing. Whatever it is, making your bed, recycling, throwing the cat up in the air. Hey, just just do what you're doing. Like, anyway, I think I talked my noggin off long enough about the subject, but but parent but parents need to back off eventually. You know, if you're 20 and they're still not backing off, well, then there's a sign that maybe someone needs uh, to belly up to the bar. And I'm not talking about the parents. I'm talking about the 20-year-olds that are still living with their parents. They need to belly up to the bar. They need to do their own thinking. They need to get their own jobs, and or like whatever, based on what they are looking for. You know, they're not going to pave the pavement because they were told to pave the. They're not going to look for a job if duo dad and mom are getting rich off of the experience that they're the ones that told. Like I mean, like if the parents or the sister who's like next to 30 or 40 or 50, uh, they it's all healthy. It's all healthy of what they're trying to do. It's healthy, but it just might not be healthy for the individual who is way the hell younger and is trying to do the same thing. They're just trying to do it in their own time, you know, their own way. Like it's gonna give like that should like I mean that should be a given right there. This that should be a given. Not to be hounded every 22 every 5 days out of the week if they got a job or not. You know, like, geez, I mean, come on, geez, you'll get a job in your own spare time if that's what you're doing. Like, you gotta like your parent, the parents gotta learn to either back off, you know, or they gotta take in, or they gotta go and take more parenting, uh, or they gotta or they got to study how to be a better parent. Like when things like this come up, like come on, my like even my parent, like even my parents could could definitely go to a parenting school. Like not so much to like even they could do that, but of course you can't teach a dog new tricks. And like I'm sorry, but that's just the nature of the parent. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. If the dog is old and is unable to jump, how in the heck are you supposed to teach him a new trick if he can't even jump? So that that's that's where the parents are. You know, so just think take this in because I know there's a lot in this, and you know, don't you you don't have to collect $1,000 and go to jail on the monopoly. Like you don't have to collect $100 and go to jail. You know, like in the monopoly game of life. Like just like you don't you don't have to collect $100 and you don't have to go to jail. In the monopoly game of life. Like come on. Don't don't do all the don't the parents can only go so far be, be, before they start getting to the point where they can't even uh, look at you the same way. Or parents can only go so far and do so. Parents can parents can only go so far and do so much before they start deteriorating. And that's the job, and that's the job of the parents, not to deteriorate, but you know, teenagers, teenagers, they're just they're new to the game of life. They don't have the experience their parents have. So what? They can get their own experience. You know, I'm off of that. Somebody, a kid, a teenager wants to, do their thing and take all of the, and take all of the gumption, you know, take all the gumption of where their parents left off, and just, they don't have to collect a check or anything, but but they need to, but they need to take care of themselves and not be having mom and dad putting 80,000 pounds on you when that's not their job. They they did their job, and they should be proud of what they did back when you were a kid. They should be proud of the way they raised you, but they're not. They're not, and I can tell you why they're not. They want to do it over again. That's the trick of the old dog trying to do it a new trick, but they know they can't. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm going through it too, and I'm 36, becoming 37 this month. No, yeah, like once, once you got the energy of like 155 soldiers, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, your parents raised you. They showed you. They gave you instinctive a incentive. Hey John, how's your handsome self? Um, okay, anyway, but just your parents did a hell of a job raising it and keeping it out, and telling you and keeping you out of harm's way. and stuff, and doing that, and just like they did their job. That was then. This is now. You're you're approaching teenagehood and all that, and you need to do what's expected of you. Like the parent, like you have to do what's expected of you. Because if you don't do what's expected of you, guess what happens? It's like it's like the parents one, and we don't need that. You don't need that. What's your, your what's your opinion? With my face here. What's your opinion on the Paul and I didn't watch it, but if you want to send it to me, I will definitely watch it. Um, much not much or much or not enough. Just telling many times something's over. You and there's where you got me, John. You're obviously smarter than me because I do seem to ramble a lot of stuff. So thank you for the heads up. Relax. I will not bite. I will not bite you. Just I'm a harmless guy. I'm a harmless, gentle guy who's just trying to, stir things up on YouTube, stir things up on this side of it. Da 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 da. So anyway, before this video becomes 100 minutes, I'm gonna end it here. So all I want to say to you is, you know, your parents did the best they could in raising you, and trying, you know, and trying this and that to keep you from dying too early in life. Now, now it's your duty as the kid, the teenager, to give the parents a push or a complete push and say, okay, back off, okay, like you are who you are, and that's great. I love you, but I do, but I need to do what I need to do. Not you telling me not you telling me what that is. You know, I gotta do what I gotta do, Dad or Mom, and you can't help me. You can't. I'm not saying you're useless, but you gotta let me do this. Not you forcing me to do it when you don't have the ability to, you know, real. Like that's the whole emphasis of being a teenager. You don't know what your next move is going to be, but do you want to be told what it is by your parents? Even I don't want to have that. Even I don't want that from my parents. Them giving me the old 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I know what I'm doing. Just because I got a brain in my head doesn't mean a parent can try to give me another brain. No, I, yeah, it's messed up. Mean people, mean children. Were you ever a kid, John? Because that's what I'm getting at. I'm defending the, well, I'm not actually defending. I'm trying to give the, sometimes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at, John, and everyone else here. I'm, I'm trying, I'm trying to bring back that element of where you were way back when, and the kids and teenagers today. That's what I'm trying to do. So come on, like, I mean, stop it. You're not your own age all the time. So sometimes you're different ages. You know, you could be 16 in your head and be 25 in your original physical body. I love you for it. Like, you should be able to perfect what you know you need. You know, your parents can't help you. They can try, but they just can't. It's like, smell it and takes me back to younger day, and I remember things were better than now because different eyes. Dude, seeing. Did your parents tell you to see, John, and everyone else in here? Or did you discover that by yourself? Because there's no other way. You either had to have experienced it yourself without being measured out. And no shortcut. Seeing is believing. I got news for you. Seeing can also be, well, a lot of different things. Anyway, I had talked my head off, and it's right, and now my head is somewhere between my knees and my. I had talked my head off, and it's down to, and now it's down to almost my knees. So I had talked my head off here, and I wouldn't be surprised if my head was located between my knees and my feet. So I will talk to you again another day, another night over the rainbow. Ciao.